Hi everyone, Isaac here, and welcome back to our devlog series for Ascending Inferno, our 2.5D Fodian game set in Dante's Inferno. So today's episode is going to cover two things mainly. Number one is kind of our general game design, so I'll be covering stuff like mechanics and the narrative of our game, and then I'll be passing it over to Ricky to talk about kind of our environment art pipeline and what it takes to create a voxel asset and get it game ready for Unreal Engine. So with that being said, let's just get straight into it and take a deep dive into the first proper level that players find themselves in, Limbo. Alright, so it's important to note that what you all are currently seeing is work in progress. We're currently working on trying to get a Steam demo out within the next
2 to 3 days.
So if you guys want to stay up to date with the project, as well as have any feedback in general, the Discord is the place to be. Myself and the other devs are fairly active in it, so if you guys want to keep up to date, the link to that is in the description. Alright, so here you can see our main character Danny, and that orb looking thing there to the right is Vincent, her deceased sibling. So originally our idea for this story was to have Danny, who back then was a soccer player. She dies in a freak accident in the tutorial section of our game. She gets sent to hell, and she then has to kick her own soul out of hell. And for quite a while that was the whole, I guess, depth to our game, narratively speaking. And while it was super simple and we liked it, we ended up gravitating towards this change here, where it's Danny and Vincent, two siblings, who have to get out of hell together. And what this means is we can do a lot of really fun stuff, such as we're currently working on a dialogue system between Danny and Vincent. Think speech bubbles that pop up on the screen, where the siblings will kind of banter back and forth, and hopefully, in typical sibling fashion, it will annoy the hell out of our players. But yeah, so that's kind of where we're sitting at narratively at the moment. Like I said, it's all work in progress and all of that jazz. So let's talk movement options. So quick recap, you can move left, you can move right, you can jump, and you can double jump. And in terms of movement, that's really it for controlling our main character Danny. Super simple, super easy, but the real difficulty comes in how we, I guess, and how we navigate through hell with Vincent, who essentially is just a ball. So if I'm near Vincent, he will automatically attach to me, and this is kind of how I move him left or right. So super easy, super intuitive, like you don't have to hit any buttons, it's just automatic when you're near him. And this brings us to our first obstacle here to the right, which is how do we get Vincent up to the right on that ledge there? So I can jump with Vincent attached to me, and he jumps up with me. You'll notice on the way down that the ball actually bounced off my head, and that's because we have a collider attached to Danny's head, and that allows her to header Vincent like a soccer ball. So let's take that, and let's actually move Vincent up there to the right. Oh my goodness, I yeeted it there. There we go, nice and easy. Another way of moving Vincent around is that if instead of just jumping directly up, if I put some direction to it, Vincent will actually follow that trajectory. So if I just jump to the left, Vincent will go up and to the left, like that. Awesome, so let's do that again and get him across that hole. Oh no, oh my goodness, it's rapid. Okay, well I fell down there, but let's quickly get back up. Now, so this brings us to the next, I guess, other way of moving Vincent around, which is just straight up a kick. So our kick has two power levels. It has a soft kick and a hard kick. So I'm just going to yeet Vincent there to the left, and that was our hard kick. At the moment, they're both bound by one key. If you just tap Q at the moment, it's a soft kick. If you hold it for more than 0.5 seconds, then it's a hard kick. Again, super easy. But yeah, that's really it in terms of mechanics and like the basics, I suppose, for moving Vincent around. So let's just progress throughout Limbo and let's see how far we can get. And we're back. So yeah, let's kind of just navigate throughout Limbo for a little bit. Give you guys a bit of a taste test for what it is. So, like I was saying before, it's set in Dante's Inferno. So all of the levels, I suppose the stages of the game are the different circles, cones, whatever you want to call them, or layers of hell. So this at the moment is Limbo. Ignore the background at the moment. It's currently getting reworked, so ignore the fact that it looks like we're going warp speed in the background there.
Helm warp 1, engage!
But yeah, with Limbo, we kind of really went for that decrepit castle kind of feel. The wind is way too strong at the moment, but again, all work in progress. We're tweaking sound and all of that jazz. The next biome, I suppose, level, is Lust. After that, we've got Gluttony, then Greed, then Wrath/Anger, and then we've got Heresy, Violence, Fraud, and then Treachery to round up the game. Now, as my background is in design, I'm actually going to pass it over to Ricky, one of our environment artists, to talk about how he takes a grey box that looks like this and transforms it into a scene that looks like this.
Hello everyone, my name is Ricky and I am one of the artists for Apollyon Studios working on Ascending Inferno, and my key roles and responsibilities on the project are the development of style, creation of 3D assets, and also set dressing. So for the art style of the game, we have been taking from many different sources as each level is a wholly unique setting. So for Limbo, think things such as the game Limbo, Dark Souls, and the underworld from Disney's Hercules. These very kind of run-down, more abandoned aesthetics. For Lust, we have been taking inspiration from Cyberpunk 2077, Mass Effect, and Katana Zero, just very neon-y vibes. With these aesthetics and vibes in mind, we have created our art bible, which we've been using for each of the levels to dictate the general aesthetic that we've been looking for, using it to figure out our lighting, silhouettes, and our general color palettes for each level. That being said, we now have the challenge of turning all of these different aesthetics, different vibes, into voxel art. So we've had to determine ways to create the silhouettes of objects that we want to make in a much more simplistic fashion, which took some time to develop, but what we have now is a very solid pipeline that allows us to create assets quickly. So with our old pipeline, we were using a program known as Magical Voxel to create all of the assets. Magical Voxel allows you to place individual voxels to create objects, which at the time worked quite well. However, it did spit out geometry that wasn't the best, as we were also texturing Magical Voxel. So our pipeline around that was a bit inefficient and led to quite poor models. We've now moved on to a new pipeline, which we've been developing over the past few months, which involves modeling in Blender and texturing using color charts, with materials that have been made in Unreal Engine by one of the other artists on our team, Martin. This allows us to create our assets at a much more rapid pace. Our model making process involves two different techniques. The first technique follows a regular modeling fashion of scaling and extruding faces to create the desired model. We then apply the remesh modifier using blocks to turn it into voxel art. This method is our speedy method for when the asset won't be too close to the screen. The second method is our more time-consuming one, but it is necessary for objects that require close proximity to the camera, or voxel accuracy. This voxel accurate method involves modeling from a grid that aligns with the pixel art in the game using our specified voxel size. The models of these pots were made rather quickly and roughly to demonstrate the methods, so please note that this is not the amount of time we would typically spend on a model. After doing either of the two methods, we would perform cleanup on both models, including adding a decimate and triangulate modifier, and also removing any unnecessary faces. Once this cleanup is done, we move on to the UV editing tab in Blender and apply texturing using a color chart, which we use for almost all of the assets in the game. While some assets do require unique textures, the majority are textured using this method. We unwrap the faces and assign them to the appropriate square colors. Additionally, we add a light map before exporting the model and importing it into Unreal Engine. In Unreal Engine, we apply our prop material, which includes warm and dark color variants, along with a metallic variant of both. These materials add randomness to the textures, applying the finishing touches to the models. Once this entire process is finished, we have a complete asset ready to be placed in the game. The final step in my level creation process is set dressing, which involves placing the assets we've created to bring the environment to life. This step requires careful consideration, taking into account the player's vision and ensuring that they can easily see and navigate the level, along with identifying their path and making necessary jumps. To determine the optimal placement of assets, we collaborate with the game designers to ensure our art assists the players in finding their way, such as adding lights on the top of chandeliers that serve as jumping points. Personally, my preferred method for set dressing begins with creating a blockout using boxes and occasionally a very simple low poly model. This allows us to quickly establish the general shapes and layout of the environment. Once the blockout is complete, we begin creating an asset list, which may have already been started on, simplifying the process of blocking out. From there, we repeat the entire process of modeling and texturing before replacing the blockout assets with their finalized counterparts. Once this is done, we have a fully realized environment ready for all of you to rage in. And with that, we wrap up our 3D aspect of our game development process. I hope you enjoyed learning about our approach.
Awesome, and that pretty much wraps up today's devlog episode. Thank you all for watching. Like I mentioned throughout the video, that we're currently working on a Steam demo that should hopefully be out within
2 to 3 days.
If you guys are interested in playtesting that and giving us feedback and seeing where the game's headed, join our Discord. It's in the description just below. Like I said, all the devs are in it as well, so feel free to chat to us, give us feedback, and tell us if you're enjoying the game or not. Thank you all again for watching. Feel free to follow our socials and all of that stuff to stay up to date as well. Hopefully see you guys in the next episode. Peace.